So, what happens when a family finds itself in crisis? Well, the child welfare system is designed to step in, but it's a world of incredibly high stakes, immense pressure, and decisions that can change lives forever. Today, we're going to step inside one single family's case to really understand how a system that's under so much pressure can impact every single person it touches. But first, I want you to look at this number 73%. What is that? Well, in North Carolina, that's the percentage of the child welfare workforce with less than 5 years of experience. Just think about that for a second. You're a family in crisis, and the person making these life-altering decisions about your child's future is very likely still learning on the job. That's the reality, and it's the frame for the entire story we're about to explore. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by looking at the strange system itself. Then we'll zoom right into the Bridges family case and the court battle that followed. From there, we'll unpack the huge legal questions this all brings up, see how the mother fought back with a federal lawsuit, and then wrap up by talking about the very real human cost of it all. So, let's get into our first section, a system under strain. See, before we can even begin to understand what happened to this family, we have to get a handle on the environment they were walking into. Here's the situation in North Carolina. Its child welfare system is the least state-funded in the entire country. That leads to severe worker shortages and high turnover, with only about half of social workers able to meet their recommended caseloads. And on top of all that, you've got this fragmented system spread across 100 different counties, all with inconsistent data. It's pretty much a recipe for crisis. And that's the backdrop for every single case, including this one. All right, now let's meet the people at the heart of this story. Kelly O'Neill, Michael Bridges, and their young daughter, Mara. Their lives were about to be turned completely upside down because of a series of reports made to the Department of Social Services. And it all started with this right here, a juvenile petition. This is the piece of paper, the legal document that officially brings the state into a family's life. This one was filed on November 6th, 2023, and it alleged that Mara was a neglected and dependent child. That single action set off a chain of events that would quickly spiral out of control.
And the allegations listed in that petition were, they were really serious and pretty wide-ranging. They painted this picture of a home that was an injurious environment, with claims of substance and emotional abuse, unsafe discipline, even an allegation that the mother locked the child outside. This is what triggered the whole investigation in the first place.
So one of the first steps the Department of Social Services, or DSS, often takes is to create something called a temporary parental safety agreement. The idea is it's a voluntary plan to keep a child safe without having to go to court right away. But, and this is a huge but, even though it's not an admission of guilt and a parent can revoke it, pulling out of that agreement can make the agency escalate things, and fast. And that's exactly what happened here. Kelly O'Neill, the mother, she signed on to the plan at first, but pretty soon after, she revoked it. Then she refused a drug test and wouldn't go to a follow-up meeting. For DSS, that was a major red flag, and it's what pushed them to take the case to court. And once this case got into the courtroom, the conflict didn't just get worse, it escalated dramatically, and communication just completely fell apart. I mean, the hostility here became extreme. This quote is pulled directly from court documents. It's a list of accusations the mother allegedly made in text messages against the social worker and the guardian ad litem. That's a court-appointed advocate for the child. We're talking accusations of child trafficking, perjury, rape. This wasn't just a simple disagreement. It was all-out war.
So, in the eyes of the court, the parents were on two totally different tracks. The father, Michael Bridges, was seen as fully complying with everything asked of him. But the mother, Kelly O'Neill, was viewed as only partially engaging, with significant non-compliance. And maybe most importantly, their daughter Mara was telling the court she felt safe with her dad, but she felt lied to by her mom. You can just feel the emotional weight on this child. According to the case files, Mara told her advocate that her mother used her as a therapist. And for a child to say she was done with her own mom, that is just a powerful, heartbreaking thing for a court to hear. So in response to all this, the court's restrictions on the mother just kept getting tighter and tighter. In April, a no-contact order with her daughter. By August, she was banned from posting about the case on social media. And then by October, there was a full-blown gag order forbidding any discussion of the case or the people involved on any social media platform, period.
But this case, it really isn't just about one family's conflict. It cracks open these huge, complicated legal questions about the rights of parents, especially when things like disability and free speech get involved.
And that brings us to a really critical question. If a parent has a diagnosed mental health condition, what are their rights? I mean, the system is there to protect the child, of course, but what are its legal obligations to the parent? Well, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, child welfare agencies are actually required to provide reasonable accommodations. Basically, that means they have to be willing to make adjustments to their rules and policies so that a parent with a disability has an equal chance to reunify with their child. But Kelly O'Neill argued that that never happened for her. In a formal complaint she filed, she claimed the system subjected her to prejudice and just assumed she was incapable, not based on her actions, but based solely on her diagnosis. And then there's that gag order. Legally, these are called prior restraints on speech, and they're considered one of the most serious things you can do to First Amendment rights. It means the government is stopping you from speaking before you even say anything. The bar to justify that is incredibly high, which really raises the question of whether the court's order to silence this mother was even constitutional. So, frustrated and feeling like she'd hit a brick wall with the state court, the mother took her fight to a whole new level. She filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the very people who are involved in her case. Her lawsuit makes 4 huge claims. First, that the gag order violated her free speech. Second, that the no-contact order was basically a termination of her parental rights without due process. Third, a violation of the ADA because they failed to accommodate her disability. And fourth, she alleged that state officials actually conspired together to violate her civil rights. Okay, let's zoom out one last time, because what this case really shows is a hard, painful truth. The child welfare system, at least in its current state, can cause profound harm to every single person it touches. You end up with this tragic feedback loop. Children suffer while they wait in limbo for a permanent home, parents are at risk of losing their most fundamental rights, and the social workers themselves, they experience incredibly high rates of what's called moral injury, the trauma that comes from having to make impossible decisions in an under-resourced, adversarial system. The system isn't just harming families, it's harming the very people who are supposed to be helping. And so we're left with this enormous question. When a system that's designed to protect children ends up causing such deep trauma to families, to kids, and to its own staff, how do we even begin to build a better, more humane path forward? That's really the challenge at the absolute heart of child welfare reform today.